So, hey y'all. It's Naya Money here with another video, and this time, this time around, I won't be doing a vlog, but today I decided to be obedient to God. He's been pressing upon my spirit to tell my testimony to you guys and post it, which is something that I never done before. So right now I'm just choosing to be obedient. Like, I don't even look like aesthetically, I would say, pleasing or appropriate, in the way that I would want to come on camera to be like, hey y'all, I'm finna sit down and talk to y'all. But yes, so I just got my hair a little slick back. I was just at the kitchen table at the house, and I decided to drive to the nearest coffee shop, and I'm outside of the coffee shop, y'all. It's so pretty. But there's a wasp. But I'm outside of the coffee shop to tell my testimony, because that's what the Lord want me to do. I don't know who this is gonna touch. I don't know how many people this is gonna reach, but I pray that it bless someone. It also inspires someone to also give their life to Jesus, and to be saved like how he saved me, and to experience his love. I hope I'm talking loud enough, but yes. So yes, y'all, I'm gonna go in detail. I'm not gonna be brief. I'm gonna tell it in detail. I'm gonna tell it in detail, and I'm gonna try to be as like authentic and real as possible, and like break it down to where everyone can understand. And I'm outside getting bit already, and it's very hot, and I'm in the shade still getting bit, hoping that my camera don't overheat. So I'm gonna be checking my camera from time to time. But yes, y'all, so let me not stall and let me not continue to stall. Let's get into it. But first, I pray that everyone is having a splendid day. I pray that this message or this testimony touches someone. I pray that someone give their life over to Jesus just because they heard my testimony. But yeah, the Lord loves y'all, and I just pray peace, prosperity, and joy, and it'll be your strength. And so okay, let's get into it. Let me tell it. But yes, so I'm gonna try to see if I can like implement videos and pictures, like as I tell my testimony or whatnot. But okay, so I gave my life to Christ when I was 16 years old, and back in 2021, on December 1st. I remember it being December 1st, and I was in the 11th grade. I was in high school. I graduated in 2023. And I live in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm from Alabama, and I graduated in 2023. Gave my life to Christ on December 1st, 2021. I was 16, and I was in the 11th grade, so it was my junior year in high school. And now I'm like 2 years out of high school. It's now year 2025, and I've been walking with the Lord ever since, and I'm currently 19 years young. So let me backtrack and go into why I give my life to Christ and what led up to me getting saved and being saved. Okay, so let's see. Okay, how I grew up. So how far do I want to take this back? Okay, so like I grew up in like I'm gonna be just transparent. So, my parents and stuff watching this, and, family, friends, I'm just telling my testimony. So don't get offended or anything. But I grew up in a lukewarm household. I was born in Bessemer, Alabama. I was supposed to be born in New Orleans, Louisiana, but in 2005, which the year that I was born, Hurricane Katrina came, which was one of the like big historical hurricanes to ever happen. I think in the world, one of the worst ones, and my mother fled pregnant with my twin and I, because I'm also a fraternal twin, and we came over to the next state from Mississippi, which is Alabama, which is next to Louisiana. So I was born in Alabama, Bessemer, Alabama. I thought I was born in Birmingham for a long time. I don't know why they told me I was born in Birmingham, because they consider Bessemer and Birmingham the same thing, but we're not gonna get into that, y'all. But yes, so majority of my life I grew up where I am now, Montgomery. My dad, my mom, I just remember my mom and my dad, us staying, all of us staying with each other as a family over in Birmingham. Because as soon as I was born in Bessemer, Alabama, apparently we moved to Birmingham, which is, they consider Birmingham and Bessemer the same thing. So apparently we moved to Birmingham, and I just remember up until the age 3, and it's crazy how I remember a bit of that or that much. I was staying with my biological father and my mother together in that household. I don't really because I was so young, I don't remember too much, but I just remember staying with all of us staying with each other, until my mother and dad decided to split ways, well, mainly my mama. And of course we went with our mother. I also have 3 other siblings on my mother's side, so it's 4 of us. So we went from Birmingham, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama, and this is where I've been ever since the age of 3 or 4, us coming down here. So being down here is home for me. It's definitely home, because I've been down here for so long. So I'm definitely planted down here. And growing up, of course I've been the elementary school, public school, elementary school, middle school, high school, where everyone goes to. I just remember being a joyful kid. I was definitely a kid. I was definitely able to be a kid. I thank God that I was able to be a kid. I did enjoy my youth, participating in stuff summer camps and activities, and having friends, and it fairly did feel like a normal childhood. I always felt different though. I've always felt different. I never felt I fit in. I always felt I was my own person, and I would always have that 1 or 2 friend, or their little friends. I ain't even gonna say so much as a group, because I never considered myself being in a group, but I would always have those friends and be okay, I'm sticking with my friend. I've always been like that, but I've too was also when I was younger, more, I would say in the shyness, I was more shy, soft-spoken. Even now I'm still kind of soft-spoken in ways, but yes, I always been like, but behind closed doors, y'all, I blossom like a butterfly. So goofy, so silly. That's how I am. I feel like I just bring so much like light. But yeah, like, always smiling. I've been like that since I was little. Always dancing and singing, always like in the mirror. I was always into like the little girly stuff, but I was never too girly to like want to play and have fun. And I was never too like, I was never like really like stuck up to be like, I don't want to be your friend, or I was just never really like mean. Like I never had that heart to be like that. So just to give y'all an idea, of how it was like, I grew up like the times, okay, when times were hard growing up, I didn't even realize that, okay, times were hard, just because I could see how the Lord really just kept me and my family, like really my mom, because as my father and my mother split ways, she became like a single parent for a while. So, for her to just have 4 kids on her own and, just going to work and everything, I didn't realize what was going on. And I didn't even like, to be honest, I didn't really feel it. Like, of course I knew like my daddy wasn't there, and I'm sure I definitely did feel, a type of way then that, I fully couldn't even comprehend that like then. Other than that, I really just, things seemed great, things seemed good. I was still a child. I was protected. I still like, had food in my stomach every night. I still had a roof over my head. So so like my mother, she's really strong, and I can see how the Lord really just kept her and just also kept us, because now that I'm of course older, more mature, I see that times were hard and at times, and yeah, like the Lord definitely carried us through it, like most definitely. So just to give y'all like an idea of how it was, I'm trying to explain and trying to remember in the best way that I can, looking from the camera, trying to think, because I always do that. I look away to think, even when I talk to people. So yes, let me think. Yeah, like as far as growing up in church, I wasn't really like heavy in church. Like my granddad, which is my mother's father, like he's a pastor, but we went to his church like annually, like once a year for his like church like a reunion. I mean, my grandma, it was a period of time I remember like going to church with her for like a period of time in my life, but it wasn't something that like necessarily like stuck. Even though I was like a member of the church, I could have been like in the 3rd, 4th, or like the, I don't know, like a bit. I just remember a bit of elementary school, like attending church at times, like attending church with either with my grandmother. That's the main like like primary church that I remember, like, or at times with like my stepdad, or just like at different occasions or something. It didn't feel like a every Sunday thing, like where I had to go. So I heard, like when I was younger, I would hear about Jesus. I would like I would hear about Jesus. I would like hear that he died on the cross for our sins. I would, how I viewed it, I just viewed God being at the top and Jesus and the devil being like under the ground, and we were just in the middle, like in the earth, like and I could just like step on the ground and be like, devil, don't play with me, and look up to God, and there's God up there like above the clouds. You just can't see him, but he can see us. That's how I looked at it. I didn't really look at it like a relationship. Like I look at it more like an authoritative figure, like, oh, like we just got to do good, and God is always watching. of course the enemy is bad, but you know you shouldn't, you know, like partake in the things of the devil and stuff like that, you know, like, yeah. So you know, I did stuff like growing up around secular music, around like smoking and drinking, like around cursing, you know, like you know, I just been around that, or like the stereotypical, you know, like, I ain't gonna say like in a way, no, not to be rude, not like a stereotypical like black household, but in a way, yeah, like, you know, like it was like that for me, you know, that was my norm, like you know, the rap music, like the R&B, like, you know, the Beyonce, like, girl, yes, like all that. I grew up around all that. So, you know, like the twerking and the partying, the clubbing, like, you know, seeing that stuff, like being exposed to it, you know, young, like, you know, yeah, just being exposed to a lot of the things of the world that I thought was just normal, like, you know, that I thought was just normal or just okay. You know, it's certain stuff that I knew I would think like, okay, this to this certain extent is not okay, but a little bit of this is okay. You know, because I just had a double-mindedness. I was in like I was lukewarm growing up, and you know, the whole time of me being lukewarm, I thought that I was saved. Like, I was thinking that I was saved. I was thinking, like, you know, if I were to like pass away, that I'll be with Jesus. I was thinking that, you know, I went to church 8 times. I know that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and I believe God. I believe that God is real. You know, that's what I thought. So I thought like, okay, I got the green light, or I got the green pass, you know, to heaven or whatnot. Girl, but yes, so that's what I thought. But yes, y'all. So, you know, those are the things that I thought. Let me see. I remember. Hold on. Yes. So my mother, she was a single parent for a minute until like my stepdad came. And like, you know, thank God for my stepdad, because, you know, he was the one that, you know, would tell us majority about like God and everything. Even though I never heard the side of like, you know, having a relationship with Jesus, my stepdad would just always give us like what my sister called like little lectures. Or like, you should call it lectures. Like my stepdad would always like, you know, inform us about God, but like, y'all need to get right with God, da, 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 and stuff like that. And you know, I would just always hear it like being enforced. I remember at times like my stepdad was like, you know, y'all gonna learn the like the prayer, y'all gonna learn God's prayer. If you don't, you're gonna get a whipping. Like you know, like hearing that growing up and stuff like that, you know. So I knew about God. Like I knew God was good. You know, but the way, I'm not gonna lie, the way that, you know, in ways that my stepdad did present God, like, or, you know, I would just hear about God in general, it made me look at him like, okay, this is an authority figure. I just gotta do right before him. I didn't want to authentically, like, you know, get to know him. I never even knew that I could get to know, like, I never knew I could have a relationship. I never knew I could get to actually know God, like, for my own. I didn't know that. You know, I just thought I had to be good. I just thought I had to do the right things. I just thought I had to know about him and pray before I went to sleep and pray over my food, because, you know, that's how I grew up. That's how I grew up thinking. But, you know, outside of that, I'm having like family members smoking and drinking. So I'm thinking like, you know, like I'm okay. Like this is how life's supposed to be, you know? So yeah, that's how it was. I would always like, you know, hear, you know, about God, this, God, that. So, you know, I knew, like, I'd be like, okay, I believe in God and stuff, but I never really had a relationship. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it to like I already said, how I was in elementary and how things were like, you know, I was a happy kid. I always felt different. Like I remember at times, like when I was little, I'll be picked on like a little bit, but nothing like too much. I've always felt like for some reason, like, I just didn't have a voice when I was younger. In ways, like, I felt like I couldn't fully blossom in the way that I would, like, want to in certain, I could, like, when I think back on certain situations, I could see times where I allowed myself to be caged up or cornered or, like, shut down, you know. And at times things, you know, most of the time things does start from the house, you know, or the household. Not blaming, you know, anyone or anything, but yeah. So yeah, I remember being like that. You know, that's probably what you know, a bit on why I was probably like a little shy, or, you know. And when I got comfortable or behind closed doors, or like when I was exposed to, I guess, like, love and everything, like, I would blossom, y'all. So yes, I didn't, like, I grew up not really having, like, a close relationship with my biological father. And truthfully, growing up, I didn't have, like, the best relationship, you know, with my stepdad either. So it was like, you know, when it came to, like, men and role models and stuff like that, it's like I had it, but I feel like in certain ways, not in the ways that I desired or needed. You know, I probably needed a little more of this and, you know, a little less of this, you know, but rather more of that and none of this, if that were, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so just giving an idea of how things were leading up to my more of my testimony. So I want to go to middle school. So I want to jump to middle school. Like, okay, so middle school is 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. I remember just 6th grade, life was just so good. I could have been like 12. We know when we turn like the age of 13 or so, y'all, we are really accounted for our sins. Like, nothing is on our parents anymore. Like, when you're like fully conscious and know what you're doing, and, like, you know, you have a certain, you know, wisdom, it's just like you're going to be accounted for what you do and everything. So I feel like this too plays a part in, you know, how things work for me or how things turned out. So I remember, like, 6th grade, I could have been like, I think I was 11. I turned 11. I was still like a kid. You know, like, I started 6th grade when I was 10. Then I turned 11 in 6th grade, which is crazy. So I was like 10 in the 6th grade, turning 11. I had so much fun. You know, I remember, like, as I could see, you know, as I got into middle school, as time went on, you know, you getting exposed to more, you know, you around different, like, kids coming from different households and different environments to where they're exposed to things. So you coming together, and now you're just being exposed and your eyes is opening up to new things, you know. You're becoming more aware, you know, of yourself, and trying to also find yourself in, like, you know, identity and stuff. Like, you know, that's how it is with teenagers. I know parents, you see your teenagers growing up and you be like, you just wasn't in this, now you dress like this or you acting like this. You know, it's because, like, you know, you growing up, you're finding who you are, you're trying to, you know, learn, like, okay, why am I here? You're coming more self-aware, you're coming less reliant and dependable on your parents when it comes to personality and the way you think and this, that, and the third. So, you know, and we just live in the world where everyone wants to be accepted, which is okay, because, you know, we're made to want to like, be accepted. But, you know, we're supposed to be we should know that we're accepted by the Lord Jesus Christ. But let me not get too deep, y'all. So 6th grade was happy. I remember 7th grade, I decided to join like a dance team. 7th grade, I was on a dance team from 7th grade to 8th grade, y'all. And my 7th, like, I spent my whole 7th grade year dancing. When I say, y'all, I love dancing. That was my passion at the time. When I say I was such a good dancer. I don't know if y'all know DD4L, but I grew up, like, watching them. I used to grow up, like, you know, dancing, like, outside with, like, friends in the neighborhood. We used to do, like, little majorette stands and everything, like bucking and all that, y'all. And it was I loved it. Like, I had so much fun doing it. Like, you know, and I was real good at it. Like, I grew up being flexible. I could do all the splits. I love moving around. I had rhythm. Like, I even have rhythm now, girl. I love to dance. And that's something, you know, that I did in middle school. I joined the dance team. And the dance team, it really like conditioned me. I would say, like, you know, it was like I ain't gonna cap, it was a structured and strict dance team, but I loved it. It really pushed me. It really felt like I was in my element when I would dance. You know, but as far as being on the dance team, like, I remember just being on the dance team, I was still like a bit like, you know, I always felt different, so I would feel different from like the other girls at times. And I guess, you know, some of them didn't, for some reason. It wasn't everybody, but at times, like, I guess they didn't like me as much. I don't know why. Like, at the time, because I was just so like, you know, I was nice. I was like friendly, you know, into my stuff. Like, I wasn't with all the mess or keeping up drama or nothing like that. But I was such a good dancer. Like, I would smile all the time. Like, the coach would be like, "Nah, you know, you're like, I'm good. Like, I'm good at what I did, you know." And it was just my first year there. Like, I was a rookie my first year, because they consider you a rookie your first year, and when you're a vet, that's like your second year and going into your third year and being on the team. But I was a rookie and I was killing it, honey. But yeah, so I was good, and you know, and everything. And I just remember that being my passion. Like, I remember as I got into 7th grade, I don't know, I started to feel like I didn't realize at the time, but I did started to become first more aware. I decided to, like, I was getting into, like, you know, like, aware of myself and people around me. And you know, you start to get into puberty, and you know, I'm like little and slim to none, so you know, I wasn't like, I don't even think I had my period then. Like, I was, you know, looking at other people like, dang, like, I supposed to look like this or look like that. You know, you're trying to find your identity, you know, and I'm on the dance team, so it's just like, you know, I want to appear a certain way. Like, you know, I definitely had some like insecurities, you know, like the enemy trying to speak into your ear about yourself and everything, when you're really perfect just the way you are. So yes, when you're really perfect just the way you are, I can tell that 7th grade is when, like, I started to, that's when I turned 12. So it's like I knew then, like, what was right and wrong. I had wisdom, like, you know. So it's like I felt like a emptiness in a way, and I could see how dance would, like, you know, like, dance would be like that getaway. You know, we all had the thing where, whether it's a thing or a person, we would like rely on this for like a comfort or a peace, or you know, to distract us from the things that are going on, to things that are going on at home, or you know, yeah. So you know, in me, like, that was just something that I was good at. So it's basically like I took pride in, or had kind of, you know, my identity in, because you know, I wasn't into, like, I guess I did like reading and stuff, but I wasn't like a scholar, all A's, you know. Like, I had good enough grades, so I made good enough grades to, you know, so, you know, because you're supposed to make good grades, so you'll get in trouble. Or even on the dance team, like, we had to make good grades. So it's just like, you know, that's what, you know, I felt I was good at, but I started to grow this emptiness in a way. So yeah, going into 8th grade, I remember 8th grade is where it all just turned around for me, y'all. Like, now that I'm thinking, yes, like 8th grade, oh my gosh, like 8th grade, I was still on the dance team. I was attending one, you know, a school, which was, you know, the dance team that I was on. I was attending this school, and I don't know, I can't think of like why I started, but I started to feel more of an emptiness. Like, my void that I had just grew, and I don't know why, it just grew. And like, the dance team wasn't cutting it anymore. Like, I remember my 7th grade year, it would be like, it was up to like 12 dancers. And when I got to my 8th grade year, it got down to like 4. And what make it so like great was I was the captain. I became, like I said, I was good my 7th grade year. That I became captain my 8th grade year. But then I didn't know too much about leadership. Then I didn't know too much about, like, you know, I was still like a little timid when it came to things like speaking up for myself or having a voice, you know. So giving like girls orders or instructions or to do this, like, you know, I'm sure people felt like they could run over me, or like I was just, you know, I didn't want anyone to be mad at me. You know, so it's just like I feel like I didn't have, it's like I had the skill, like I was able to do like the dances, and I could teach the dances and stuff, but outside of that, the other things I didn't have, you know. So the dancing really became like, it started to plunder for me. And the reason why I was still even going to that school was because of the dance team. So when I stopped like liking the dance team, or you know, or whatever, it's not the dance that I didn't like. It was just, it really was the team. Now that I think, like, it was less of us. I became captain, you know. It wasn't as like enjoyable how it was the previous year. So I was like, you know. So I started slacking in dancing. You know, I started to just have more of a void. So at that school, I remember I even started to, like, I don't know why, but my grades even started to slip. Like my grades just started to slip. So it just made me feel, I remember feeling so bad, you know, even about myself. So that void I had, it's just like, it just really turned me or changed me, or, you know, I could feel like walls being put up, also things that were going on at home. So it's like, oh my gosh, like, dang, I'm gonna cry. Like, I remember, it's like being like that, and my grades were slipping. So at school, I remember I started to hang around girls like for a little bit that I wouldn't even hang around with. Like, I just started to like associate myself with them a little bit, and they was already in trouble and doing things that they were not supposed to be doing. And I got around it a little bit, and I got a little taste of what that was, and it's just, I started to like act out of character. I started to be like more wild. Like, it's because I didn't feel firm. Like, I didn't feel settled. So I started to act how I felt, which was not settled. And when you think about something not being settled or firm or on a foundation, you think about it being loose, like a leaf being blown in the wind. So I was just wild in a way. Well, in a way that I wouldn't be. You know, maybe other people probably look at it and be like, oh, well, you're not that bad. But for me, I could see how I changed slightly, how I changed gradually. So time went on. I remember, hanging around like a little bit of girls, like, and what they did, it rubbed off on me a little bit. I got wild. It's like the more that I started to indulge in like more sin and act out of character, it's like the deeper the void got. So the more that I did, like, you know, you just growing older, you getting exposed to even more, you know, your eyes just opening, you learning stuff from different children and stuff. So it's just like, girl, so I remember, okay, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be on a dance team no more. I remember quitting the dance team. I remember not having good grades. I remember, you know, so I just felt very low of myself, and I didn't know myself. Like, I had identity crisis. I did not know specifically like who I was and everything. I wasn't even searching for who I was. I was just going, you know, unconsciously, you know, in identity crisis, not knowing that Jesus was what I needed, or, you know, purpose is what I needed, or peace was what I needed. I didn't know I needed these things. I was just going by the day, just going off of what I see, just going off of my environment, just going off of void, just going off of hurt, y'all. So yes, y'all, I remember quitting dancing. My grades was bad. I felt low of myself. I was like, well, maybe I should transfer to this new school. Maybe the new school I would be better. I would get more better grades. I would, everything would be fresh. I just needed a fresh start. So I remember this was gonna be my first time being a new kid. Like, I'd never been a new kid nowhere, y'all. So this is gonna be my first time, y'all. When I tell you, I became a new kid at the new school. So when I got to this new school, I transferred to the new school thinking everything was gonna be better. Thinking I was gonna get this fresh start, y'all. When I say y'all, I turned out like I got wild, like, and it was because of my environment. And you really are, like, you can be the project to your environment. Like, bad company does corrupt good morals. Like, when I say y'all, I started to be moral. Like, I started to like skip class, go to detention. This not funny. I started to go to the detention, skip class. I started to like be like loud, and I wasn't even like a loud person, and I just started to be loud. Like, I just did not care. Like, I was in people's face. I became like extra friendly, but in a way, like, it's like I became extra friendly, but in a way of like, I don't care, I'm in your face, like, type, But yes, y'all, I started to be extra friendly. Like, I just did not care. So yes, and it was really like the school was, I don't know, like, it was a lot of trouble there. Like, it was not a good school. Like, to be honest, it was not. Like, it didn't have no like real structure. The children just did not care. You know what, at that time I was like, freak it, I don't care. And I just started doing anything. So I just started doing anything. I just did not care. So yeah, that's how that was. Like, I really started to not care, and I started to get in a lot of trouble. And I never been a trouble child growing up. Like, there were times where I got in a few fights or whatever, because people tried me first. At the time, I felt as if, and I just was taught to like, oh, fight back or defend yourself. This is how I grew up. But like, I never been like a trouble child. So it's like, I don't know, y'all, for some reason, whenever I did something, I could never get away with it. But whenever somebody else did something, they flying colors. Like, they could get away with it, and I just could not. And I just did not know why. I do one thing, I'm getting suspended. Like, I remember one time I touched AC, air conditioning, in class because it was cold, and I did not know that I could not do that. When I say I got suspended, and I was like, I didn't know. Like, I did not know, and I explained I did not know, and I still was suspended. Like, what's going on? Okay, but yes, that's what it was. And I remember, like, teachers even, like, or some people, like, in the authority figure, like, at school, they was even starting to look at me like a trouble child. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I just found such a thrill. I started to find a thrill in doing, like, little, like, bad stuff, like, little childish kid, bad stuff. I started to find a thrill in it, y'all. But yeah, so I started to act up because I was empty. I got to another school. I thought it was going to get better. It got worse. My grades, I remember I thought I was going to fail 8th grade. I thought I was going to go to summer school because I thought I failed math. But I feel like it was really God, because I was like 2 points away. And I never almost failed a class before. Like, I never almost just failed a class. Like, like, I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because it's like, this is crazy. But yes, y'all, so that's how that was.